It seems like only yesterday that the president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, and the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon brought the gavel down at Rio+20 in June of last year. The Future We Want outcome document may have frustrated some and disappointed others. But in fact, within it are some truly big ideas, which if fully implemented by governments, in partnership with civil society, cities, and business, including, of course, the youth, could put the planet and its people on a far more sustainable track. Let me add that UNEP, along with partners in the UN system, are also taking forward these ideas from Rio+20, and we are already implementing many of them. Indeed, they are at the center of next week's Governing Council and Global Ministerial Environment Forum, including that small but significant piece of history that was made in Rio and at the UN General Assembly late last year, namely the strengthening and upgrading of UNEP, including universal membership for the first time in 40 years. So, what are those big ideas and why should we be excited about them? In fact, why should we care? As you know, Rio+20 gave the green light to multilateral work on the green economy in the context of sustainable development and poverty eradication. It was decided that it represents an important tool for achieving a sustainable century, for achieving development. In many ways, what Rio did in respect to UNEP was to provide a license to respond to interests of countries to develop the concept of an inclusive green economy further and to respond in partnership with others to specific country requests and country needs. In some countries, the issue of how a green economy can accelerate and scale up poverty eradication will, of course, be paramount. In others, for example, more developed countries, the green economy will, and indeed is, manifesting itself in ways that reflect their national imperatives in terms of resource efficiency, for example, and decoupling economic growth from environmental footprints. In the spirit of our theme here today, UNEP is already taking forward this issue. For example, the recently launched Partnership for Action on the Green Economy, which is called PAGE as well, which will be spotlighted next week to ministers. So, we have established a Partnership for Action on the Green Economy. The partnership was established in June at Rio. It has held several meetings and will be highlighted again next week. It's building upon, and indeed will expand upon, the existing green economy advisory services that are supporting already over 20 developing countries across sectors of relevance to them. And these sectors include agriculture, they include transport, or the built environment. In Rio, heads of state also gave the go-ahead for a 10-year framework of programs for sustainable consumption and production, and requested UNEP to act as secretariat for this program. It sounds super bureaucratic, actually, but has sound objectives, namely to decouple economic growth from the use of natural resources and the generation of pollution and waste. In support of the agri-food side of the 10-year framework, UNEP and the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, have launched a global campaign and initiative which I know you must have heard about, or if you haven't, we'll hear about it shortly. Is Think, Eat, Save, Reduce Your Footprint. It's aimed at reducing the scandalous 1.3 tons of food that is lost and wasted between the farm and the fork worldwide. It's an environmental issue, given the fact that every apple or sheaf of wheat that is wasted or lost also represents a waste of chemicals, of fertilizers, of land, of water and of energy, and therefore is also an economic and ethical loss. It's also an issue that can unite farmers and consumers, hoteliers and distributors, schools and scouts groups, the South and the North, the East and the West. UNEP would be delighted to secure your support for this campaign, and through youth networks worldwide, and I know that the director, Nick Nuttall, who is responsible for Tunza, will be raising this, if he hasn't, this week. And I really do hope that you'll give him your support, because it's a campaign that Nick has worked on extremely hard. Massively reducing food waste and food loss is a very emblematic example of how globally, nationally, and regionally societies can boost resource efficiency while also tackling food insecurity, which is an issue, of course, that's common to this part of the world. In many ways, food waste and food loss links to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and I'm sure that you've heard of those as well, which are now being developed post-Rio+20. The SDGs can be a global framework that could make every nation accountable on how collectively, as a group of over 190 countries, we all move forward to deliver a sustainable century. There are many areas where UNEP can have a unique value added here, not least in the systematic assessment of achieving internationally agreed goals as a result of our work on, for example, the Global Environment Outlook 5 report that was unveiled just before Rio+20, and which underpins your new report, the GEO5 for youth. Other areas include green economy indicators, looking beyond gross domestic product as a measure of wealth and ecosystems through, for example, the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity. Why? Because countries get happy if their GDP goes up and a bit gloomy if it goes down. But GDP is actually a very crude indicator of a nation's wealth. It fails to factor in the multi-billion-dollar value of nature, such as forests, soils, fresh water, coral reefs, and other ecosystems. There are many other positive outcomes from Rio+20. During the summit, over 30 governments and institutions, including Brazil, Denmark, Switzerland, and UNEP, announced the new Global International Sustainable Public Procurement Initiative. It's commonly known as SPPI. It's aimed at scaling up the level of public spending that's flowing into goods and services that maximize environmental and social benefits. This also represents an enormous opportunity to build greater transparency of companies' environmental, social, and governance footprints. So in short, dear friends, Rio+20 was not about some new, shiny coins, but about polishing many old, all too often neglected ones, and above all, finding more joined-up, intelligent ways of recalibrating sustainable development in order to finally start truly and fully implementing it. So Tunza youth delegates, these are some of the outcomes of Rio+20.